Hi everyone, good morning and a very warm welcome. This is Utsav Pathak and I have Nakul Saluja with me. We will be your host for the day. We would like to introduce ourselves. I, Utsav Pathak, am the founder of Robofolio, a robotics and wealth management startup which leverages on artificial intelligence and robotics tools and suggests high-end wealth advisory solutions to the customers. Hi Nakul, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Nakul Saluja, founder of Triintelligence Consulting, a startup consulting and a social sector advisory firm offering specialized services in the areas of management consulting, technology, digital marketing, finance, and governance risk compliance. I'm very honored and excited to be part of this conference today. Also, I would like to acknowledge Kshitij Mahara, who is supporting us here today with the technology. He's head of technology and digital advisory services at Triintelligence and founder at Octa Conflict Technologies.
Thanks, Nakul. In the rightness of things, we would like to introduce the organizers for the day, Connect Works. Connect plus work means to join or fasten together, usually by something intervening on a platform to connect. Connect Work Inc. is a platform with a critical mission to connect socially responsible startup entrepreneurs and key influencers who want to live by the philosophy of doing well while doing good. They are a social impact startup platform where they bring together startups and experts to share social impact ideas. Moving forward, we would like to introduce the philosophy of today's events, a social impact platform for social startups and entrepreneurs who encounter problems inspired by real life experiences. Changing society takes time, effort, and experimentation. ConnectWorks' vision for massive social change can inspire people, as experienced by taking small steps in pursuit of goals to make a social difference. Moving on, we would like to apprise of a few house rules. We shall be taking questions after first three speakers have given their presentation. Request you to kindly share your questions in Q&A window. Moving forward, we would like to go ahead with today's events proceedings. We have first speaker for the day, Mr. Ankur Mittal, General Partner at FISIS Capital based from Mumbai, India. Ankur is former head of Asia and the Middle East for Training the Street, the largest financial training company in the world. He has worked closely with all the leading investment banks, private equity firms, and sovereign wealth funds. He has invested in more than 75 startups and mentored several startups. His firm, FISIS Capital, has launched a $50 million fund with a green shoe option of $25 million for investing in a select pre-Series A to Series B startups. FISIS Capital aims to craft growth stories from seed to success by bridging the gap and improving the success rate of growth stage startups. A big round of applause for Ankur, and if I may request you to kindly take the stage.
Thank you. Can somebody please confirm that you can see my screen and hear my voice and see
Yeah, Ankur, you're audible. We can see your screen as
Yeah.
well. So your photograph on left top, followed by Delhi University logo just below it.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Awesome. So I believe this is a 30-minute session, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So 20 minutes for my presentation and 10 minutes for Q&A, correct?
No. So Ankur, it's like 30 minutes for your presentation, and then we introduce the next speaker, and then the third speaker, and after that Q&A for all three of you alternatively.
I may not be there till the third session.
So we'll make the change. All the attendees are requested to post your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll take the questions right after Mr. Ankur's
Yes.
presentation.
So I'll do a 20 minutes presentation and keep the 10 minutes for Q&A if you don't mind.
Sure.
Sure. Of
Sounds
course,
perfect.
Ankur. That sounds good. Please go ahead.
Appreciate the flexibility. So hi, good morning everyone. Great to be here and kick off this session for all of you. Starting with the social impact of the startups. Why are we all here? Why are we talking about startups so much? It is because in the last few years, what we have seen is we are a mobile first country. We are a young country. We have 500 million people who are mobile first today, and we now all have access to fast, cheap, reliable internet, right? And what it has done is it has translated into growth in the number of people who are using internet today. That has translated into increase in consumption. Now the consumption is not just for watching videos. It is also used for transactions. And last 2 years, where we were all stuck at home, many of us were forced to adopt to online shopping, online grocery shopping, online medicines. So something that people expected would happen over 5 to 10 years, happened in 5 to 6 months, when we had no option but to start transacting online, where about now $4.2 billion transactions were transacted online, per month in 2021, and growing. And what it has done is it has translated into a strong VC investment interest into the startup ecosystem. In turn, what is happening is the social impact that these startups are creating is that they are expected by, NASSCOM believes that almost 50 lakh jobs of different levels at each level of, would be created by these startups in the next, 5 years, by 2025. Uh, and the world is rising to the Indian startup ecosystem. Y Combinator, which is one of the most successful, celebrated incubators, they, in the latest winter cohort, outside US, India had the maximum representation with the 32 Indian startups. In total, they have funded 190 plus startups, of which majority, almost like, more than 50% or close to 50%, have been funded in last 12 months. Right? Big companies like Google, they are all running these smart incubation programs, which are strongly now represented by startups coming from Indian cohort. What it means further in numbers: today, India has 94 unicorns. It is a term that is used for startups which have achieved a certain scale and have reached, $1 billion in valuation. Um, India is now only behind US and China. But what you will see is in 2021, we were almost 2x, more than 2x. India generated more unicorns than China. So that tactical shift is happening now, where the VCs are rising to the growth and the opportunity that India presents, right? And it is also reducing the time period in which Indian startups are becoming unicorns. While Flipkart, one of the original poster child of the startup Indian ecosystem, took 6 years, Mensa reached there in less than 6 months, achieving a unicorn status. It's a recognition of the opportunity that is there in India. Now, it is not just about the Indian growth story. The Indian startups are harnessing their strength, proving their business model, perfecting their processes in India, and are now becoming a global story. SaaS is one of the most successful stories coming out of India and only expected to continue, where 13 of the 94 Indian unicorns are in SaaS space, and now they have gone global. B2C, EdTech, food tech, B2B commerce. You will see all these sectors, where the Indian startups started in India and are now had global ambitions and are now going globally. Even IPV has funded, while I'm representing FISIS Capital today, which will be a growth stage fund. My roots are in IPV, which is today one of the India's largest, maybe the largest angel investment platform, where people like you and I can get together and make investments. And then we take FISIS, where one of the strategies will be to invest in absolute winners of Indian startups, right? So just to give that as a way of introduction about me. So we have seen some of our portfolio companies, within their first year of operation, second year of operation, going globally and achieving this. Now, why is this happening? Why are Indian startups not only going global, but succeeding globally? It is because India is a very diverse market. First of all, India is, uh, a hunting ground for tech and talent. So far, these people were leaving India, going globally, and the Sundar Pichais of the world, achieving great success for companies outside. Now they are working in India and achieving success in India and then going global. Why? Because within one large India, there are small mini Indias, right? India is a tough market. India is a very price sensitive market. India changes every 100 kilometers. And therefore, if you want to become a startup which is catering to a large part of India, you need to learn to deal with diversity. You need to learn to deal with a very tough to please crowd. And if you can do that, if you can survive and grow and succeed in such a tough market, when you go globally, the challenges are there, but you are already trained to how to live in adversity and succeed. And that by itself makes a very strong case for the Indian startups going globally, right? Which is the other theme of the sessions today. And of course, we are a large English speaking population. So when we go abroad, we find it easier to succeed in a lot of these markets. But however, we have also made, there are a lot of actually startups coming which are also training people in other languages, like, and therefore our growth is not just limited to the English speaking countries. The founders are also having a change in their mentality. No longer they are thinking only domestic. The investors are no longer looking at Indian startups from an Indian startup growth story. Yes, it is very strong. But when they're looking at startups, they are looking at, okay, if they can succeed in this country, how can we take them globally? Few other things are happening. I talked about how, people have started looking at India. The number of investors which are entering India every year is constantly increasing. If you will see, every year we have had strong VC interest. These are individual, unique institutional investors entering the Indian startup ecosystem, right? More and more investors are recognizing the scope, the growth, the opportunity in the startup growth market. And not only the more startups are coming, the amounts they have allocated to India is also increasing, and many of these funds are now raising money from the international investors focused on the Indian growth story. Freshworks continues to be a crowning jewel in the Indian startup ecosystem space. They were IPO'd in NASDAQ in 2021. Stupendous growth, built business successfully, not just domestically, but they have some very large corporate clients, and continue to deliver strong growth, strong margins, strong profitability. Working with governments, working with public-private enterprises all over the world. In the IPV portfolio, we have also seen similar success. One of our investments, Torch, which is now renamed as Videoverse, recently saw, where by the way IPV invested at only a valuation of 17 crores. They have recently raised almost $47 million from investors like A91 Partners, Alpha Wave, and others. And they have already opened offices in US, Europe, Israel, along with India. They have the plan to go to Singapore and Middle East. They are teaming up with the largest sporting franchisees all over the world. So doing some phenomenal business. So again, a business that started in India, perfected in India, going global. Sparda is a music teaching platform. Started in India, started as an offline player. Corona forced them to go online. They perfected their processes in India. And in last 12 months have become a major, have started generating almost 30% of their revenues from US alone, and have now started entering Canada, UK, Middle East, Singapore, and Australia. So again, what we are seeing is a consistent theme where startups are starting their journey in India, perfecting their processes in India, but the founders are having global dreams and the investors are helping them to achieve those dreams. There is also a lot of focus on the social impact space in areas of health, animal husbandry, water, energy, micro entrepreneurship. A lot of innovative startups have come up to work with the challenges that exist in India, work with those challenges, supersede those challenges, and achieve growth in different areas: sustainability, education. Today, there are over 400 social impact startups alone, growing at a 20% growth rate. You also have VC and accelerators, which are set up specifically to support these startups. IPV itself has funded iCure, which is one of the startups in this space. We also have major organizations like Citibank, Accenture, Microsoft, focused on this theme, where they are dedicating their funds in helping these startups to sustain and grow. What can we expect in future? We expect this momentum to continue. We expect more entrepreneurs. See, India has always been a very entrepreneurial country, but now the world is also recognizing. So earlier they were far and few, but now there are more and stronger and many. They have the support. They have the right from the angel investment where you and I come in, right up to the funds where FICIS Capital comes in, to the large capital funds, institutional investors, pension and endowment funds of the largest universities and companies all over the world. They are now supporting the Indian startup ecosystem. And it is not just the growth they bring, it is the social awareness they bring, the jobs they create, and of course the profits they generate for the investors. We saw a record IPO listing in 2021. We expect that momentum to continue in the future years as the market stabilize, as the businesses stabilize, as they recognize the benefits of these startups. Another major shift has been the corporate participation. So large corporates internationally like Google and Mastercard were already doing it, but now a lot of Indian Mahindras and the Reliance of the world have got extremely active in supporting the venture. They all have large venture funds where they are investing in startups which are an extension of their brands, of their companies, of their operations. Because the large companies may almost not find it that easy to be nimble. Although some of these large corporates have shown extreme ability to move fast, but what they have been able to do is partner with these startups, and help them achieve the goals, and in the process making those startups successful for the investors, for the society. So this is what I wanted to broadly cover, in terms of uh, this is what I wanted to broadly cover in terms of the startup Indian growth story. It is here for there will be troughs and slopes, but you can imagine the next few years that belong to this asset class as an investment opportunity, but also as this asset class a growth story, asset class where what IT enabled services did for the last 20-30 years. You can see a lot of these startups coming out of this space going global, and in the process generating a lot of employment in India, and also having a significant social impact outside employment as well, helping in energy conservation, helping in climate control, helping in education, helping in micro entrepreneurship, supporting women entrepreneurs. These are all the causes that these startup and these journeys you will expect to continue.
Thanks, Ankur.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks, Ankur, for
Ankurji.
taking us through your thread of thoughts. We are truly enlightened by your presentation, and we are sure that so is our audience. Nakul, your views?
Exactly same, Utsav. Ankurji, I think a lot of startups would have a query that I would kind of share with you. They would also like to understand what attributes do you look at when you're investing in startups, and how can startups reach out to you, with their pitches, and to understand what would be the relevant startups that you would be investing in, the thematic areas that you are investing in, and what stages of startups do you prefer to invest in, etc.
Excellent. So what I look for in startups are good businesses run by great founders,
Right.
available at reasonable valuations.
Of
This
course.
is my mantra. Now, what is reasonable? That varies from time to time, sector to sector.
Of
I
Right.
course.
don't believe in chasing trends. The problem of chasing trends is like you will see, EV is in trend today, or EdTech was in trend last year. The problem
Right.
with trends is that you will end up investing in many startups, which are, you invest at a high valuation and you may not be able to get a high valuation when you exit.
Right.
So that affects your returns. What is more important is that you look at the business and the founders and take a decision that, okay, 3 years later, 5 years later, when it is your chance to exit, would you be able to exit at a great multiple and a return or not?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
At FISIS Capital, we will be investing primarily from pre-Series A to Series B. That would be our, and what most of the VCs say is that you don't discover the startups, they discover the startups. So we will be building a very strong pool of, very strong pipeline from where we will attract startups. But the strongest pipeline will come from the IPV portfolio, which is the angel network also that I run, where
Right.
you can just simply go to the website and
Right.
submit your startup through the startup contact us section. For example, I spoke about Torch Videoverse in my
Right.
presentation. They were looking for fundraising for a while, and then they just came to our website and submitted their deck on our website, and
Right.
our selection panel picked it up and invested in it. So we have kind of democratized angel investing, both from an angel investment point of view and also from a startup point of view. There is no bias there. There is a strong processes that have been built, and at the end of the day, it is all backed by due diligence. So just go to our website, submit it from there,
Right.
and if your business meets our three mantras, of course we will look at you for funding.
Sure.
Right.
Sounds
Thanks,
sounds
Ankur.
good.
Thanks for that was of much help. I believe people who are there as a part of the audience will be reaching out to Physis Capital and your firm, and to you at a personal level. I'm sure they are taking notes of what you said, and how it has helped the larger ecosystem grow. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being a part of the event. That was of much help. Really appreciate, Ankur.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Ankur.
much.
Really appreciate.
Thanks
Bye bye.
again. Right. So moving on.
Moving on, our next presenter for the day is Mr. Tony McAuslan. He's a social impact advisor from Queensland, Australia. Tony is an internationally recognized digital content and communication specialist with an extensive background in marketing and brand development at senior level with a variety of Fortune 500 companies, publicly listed entities, and startups across US, Australia, and the UK. He has been an advisor to some of the world's largest venture capital firms, as well as having launched several successful startups of his own. He currently works as a writer and guest speaker, and as a mentor and advisor to startups wishing to raise investment capital. His company helps investors conceptualize and bring new hardware products to market. Tony's new book for startup founders and inventors, called Your Idea is Shit, Change My Mind, was released in March 2022. A big round of applause for Tony. Hi, Tony. If I may request you to kindly take the stage, please.
Hi, how are you guys?
Very well, Tony. How are you doing?
Good. I'm just going to share my PowerPoint here.
Yeah, please do.
Hang on a sec. Have you got that up?
Not as yet, Tony.
Okay. Let me see what I have to do here.
Sure, no problem. Take your time, please.
I'm hitting the big arrow.
Right,
Right.
Choose what to share.
right.
PowerPoint. But it's not coming up.
Kshitij, would you able to please help us, Tony?
Yeah, sure. I'm Mr. Tony Shutisha. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Tony Shutisha. So, you see the three dots at the bottom of the screen? One is for
Yep.
one is for camera, one is for mic, and there is a
Yep.
box with the arrow which points upwards. So you have to click on that.
I've done that.
Okay, and it says select PDF file and share screen. Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect. We can see your screen now.
we can see your
You
screen
can-
now, Tony.
Okay. Let me just open it up a bit wider here.
Yeah, the Australia plus India connection.
Yep. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's legible. Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Greetings, everybody. I'm very excited to be here because I love India. And I want you to know that there's lots of opportunities for startups in Australia. And that's what I'd like to have a talk about today. So I'm talking about the Australian-India connection. So as the boys mentioned, my background is I had my own startup. I was in the big Fortune 500 companies. I launched a startup. We grew it from nothing to $80 million and sold out. I went and joined the Rothschilds. I was on the venture capital side in the dark side for a while. So I understand how those guys think. And then I founded a couple of other projects. One of them was the Varangana project, which I guess most of you know. Varangana was a Indian warrior woman. And this was for women entrepreneurs who were trying to raise money in India. And we had them apply from all over the world. And we we chose about 12 of the best, mentored them, flew them to Australia. We had a big Bollywood pitch night with about 200 Australian investors for all these women. And it was very successful. We're planning on having it again, except that COVID obviously slowed us down. But if there's any women out there, there's lots of opportunities for women entrepreneurs in Australia from India. I'm also the CEO of a company called Innovation Drive, which does online training for companies people that want to take an idea, a hardware product, from an idea, like you're laying on your mum's lounge or in the kitchen, and you go, how do I turn this into a worldwide product? These guys do these online training courses, which are excellent. I highly recommend them. It's a 14-week course, and they help you sort of monetize that at the end. I also advise the social enterprise group in Queensland, we're very big on social enterprise, as you know, everything from helping women entrepreneurs to fresh water, health, medicine, social, contact between people that are marginalized and all those kind of things. I'm also the ambassador for a thing called the Sydney Launchpad. That is, it's run by the City of Sydney Council in Sydney, and it's for startups like yourselves who are in India who want to get into the Australian market. The Sydney Launchpad will help you with offices, legal work, connections. They'll basically set you up in Sydney to get you going if you want to get a product up and going in Australia, and also some various boards. And as the boys mentioned, I'm also a bit of a writer. This is my latest book. The reason I mentioned it here, and you have to forgive the title, but the reason it's called Your Idea is Shit Changed My Mind is that when it came to investors, everybody's idea is their baby. They love their baby. Like, this is the greatest thing in the world. But to an investor, your idea is shit until they can see some sort of traction. So we wrote this book. It really is for insider guide. We're giving it away for free. I'm not plugging it. You can download it. You can go to the website and download it for free. But it really tells you how to put together an elevator pitch, an information memorandum, and a proper pitch deck to make investors give up their reluctance and understand what you're really getting to. That shows you how to eliminate all the crap and do a really good, strong pitch. So I highly recommend it. As I said, it's totally free. It's our way of giving back to startups. This is the thing we did in India originally, the Varangana project for Indian women. This was very successful. Some of the women that we found, one of them had a huge kind of like Airbnb business. We helped to raise about $10 million. One of the ladies was a genius. She was working with stem cells for treating like brain injuries, and she'd actually been nominated for a Nobel Prize. So when people sort of in Australia, they go, oh, India, what are they doing over there? We go, well, they're doing a lot of things you wouldn't believe. I mean, there's some super smart people there, and this is where we are very big on India. So that was our project in the past, and we are going to have another one very soon. As I said, Australia loves India. The reason India suddenly has become important to Australia is, first of all, I say Chinese aggression. I don't want to offend anybody that's Chinese, but the aggression in the market where there is a lot of fighting over places like in the South Pacific where the Chinese are trying to get a foot in the door and marginalize Australia. And the COVID thing has brought out the whole supply chain issue where places like Australia are totally reliant on China for a lot of our medication, medical supplies. So this has become a real hot topic. And just recently, there's a two-way trade agreement being signed in down the bottom there, which is a free trade agreement. Just to give you an idea, two-way trade goods grown from India, 13.6 billion in 2007, now 24.3 billion in 2020. So we want to buy stuff from India. So don't be bashful if you've got a good idea. And Australia may only be 25 million people, but there's plenty of money here, and it's also a great launch pad for your business globally. And I'll tell you why about that in a second. Some of the major opportunities for India and Australia, I think Mital G mentioned, but there is software development, alternative energy, consumer goods, financial investment, transport, health. Health is a big one. The reason I say that is the health sector. There's lots of great stuff being done by India in the health sector, but it's a very hard slog getting Indian products approved on the world market. So what people have discovered is that the Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration Group, which is recognized as one of the strongest, most stringent bodies in the world, Indian companies are bringing their products to Australia, having them approved by the TGA here, and then you can fast track your health products worldwide once the TGA have approved it. So if you had a medical idea, you could go to that Sydney Launchpad, as I said. They'll help you set up an office here, get you legal help and all that kind of thing, introduce you to the people that would help you get your product through the TGA. and then you could launch it to the world, having used Australia as your test market. There's been quite a few successful Indian companies here in Australia: Infosys, Wipro, Tata Consultancy, Cognizant, Sonata, Tech Mahindra. They're all going very well here. And I said, we've only got 25 million people, but it's a strong market. And we have quite a few unicorns of our own. We've got Atlassian, Canva, quite a few of these. So even for a small market, we do generate unicorns. So if you've got a product, you could well think of looking at Australian branch offices helping you get into the market, because Australia is a good entry into the US and the UK markets, obviously. The reason we like India as an investment, in other words, people say, why would I invest in an Indian company from Australia, is one, as Mr. Mittal mentioned, English fluency is very high. I have business dealings in China, and China is very hard because the senior people at meetings pretend they can't speak English. So you've got to work your way up the chain. Whereas in India, everybody's very fluent and they're quite happy to show you how excellent their English is. They're all highly educated. Most people in India that I work with have got 2 and 3 degrees. They're very tech savvy. We love the Indian work ethic that you guys all work 6 days a week. Australians haven't got that kind of work ethic. There's a sort of similar legal framework because obviously the British connection going back. And from an Australian point of view, we see a potential 1.2 billion consumers. So we're very upbeat on India here. Where to now? So in other words, how do you get a startup off the ground in Australia? Well, as I said, there's free assistance if you want to launch in Sydney in Australia. This thing, Sydney Landing Pad. I'm the ambassador to India from there. But this is the number one program for tech companies wanting to expand into Australia. They don't charge you any money, and they give you offices, legal work, etc. So I can heartily recommend you have a think about that. If you've got a startup and you think you could benefit from being in Australia. This is the Innovation Drive one. This is the one that, as I said, they work with people who've got a product idea. These guys, actually, one of them is an Indian chap living in Australia, and they're excellent at speccing up hardware products and then getting it out to the manufacturers. We're trying to drive manufacturing in Australia, but that doesn't mean we can't take ideas in India and have them manufactured in India, but deliver them in Australia. So we're very upbeat on India there. And this is the one I was saying, this is the Innovation Drive, the business school for inventors. They've got a new cohort coming up, I think, in the next few weeks. But they've got very good, you can go and have a look if you're interested in anything there. And I said, you can download my book for free, yourideaisshit.com. I promise you'll get a good laugh. And but there's lots of ways of overcoming all these sort of objections that people have. And one of the things that I think Mr. Mittal touched on that I think is important to understand is that, as having worked for the VC side as well as being a startup founder myself, VCs like investing in people first and foremost before ideas. So VCs basically will say, I will invest in a great founder with an okay idea much better than an okay founder with a great idea, because what they're worried about is who's going to make the idea happen. So you're really selling yourself to the VCs. And if you sold yourself, then they're interested in your product. Obviously, you've got to have a good product. It's got to have global appeal and be, able to be leveraged up. And it's got to have some IP around it and all that. We cover all that. But the real thing about selling to these guys and investors is selling yourself, because they've got to have faith in you delivering. And one of the things that we find, as I said, that it's a double-sided coin with India, because Indians are very good at running businesses. They're very entrepreneurial, super smart, got lots of great ideas. But there's also a bit of a modesty culture in India where people don't like overselling themselves. So a lot of people have to overcome that if you're from India. I spent a lot of time in America and grew up over there. And if you go to America and you say, can you play tennis? Even if they're average, you go, oh, yeah, I'm great. I'm a great tennis player. Whereas if you go to some Indian, he might be the Commonwealth Games champion. You say, can you play tennis? He go, well, I'm okay. I'm not too bad. So Indians have this modesty culture that they have to overcome if they want to sell themselves to investors. So we talk about a lot about that and how to do it in a interesting and humorous way to overcome those objections and get investors on side. So again, highly recommend you read that. As I said, we're not plugging it. It's all free. Anyway, that's kind of me quickly because I don't want to take up a lot of your time. But as I said, we're very big on India. There's a big opportunity here for startups. There's lots of opportunity here to get government support to help launch your startup. There are a couple of very big companies here that are doing quite well in India, and they've used Australia as a springboard into the rest of the world, especially on the medical side and pharmaceuticals and chemicals. There's actually a whole campus in Melbourne devoted to getting Indian products through the health system. So, and then, we're big on software, but even things like, electric scooters, anything from India that's, transport, health, even alternative energy. We're open to all those kind of opportunities. And, I'm always happy to talk to anybody. You can reach out to me through LinkedIn or something, and happy to steer you in the direction of someone that can help you out, or we can help you ourselves. But that's it for me, and I hope you have a good conference for the rest of the day.
Thanks for taking us through your presentation. That was really insightful. Everyone, a round of applause for Tony, please. Nakul, what's your view?
Yeah, very insightful, very enlightening. Really good to understand the India-Australia connection and the synergies that are being developed and growing. Thank you so much, Tony, for walking us through that. And probably, I think many of the startup founders would kind of, would like to reach out to you and also understand the ecosystem better. And,
well, they're welcome to.
Sure. Of course, Tony. Look forward to that. If I may request you to kindly share your LinkedIn ID on the chat box so that people can reach out to you directly for any clarifications, questions, should they have any. Really appreciate you being a part of this conference. Many thanks on behalf of the Connect Work and the family. Look forward for to see how the synergies can develop and how we can take it forward.
Yeah, that'd be good. And I'll put my email up really, and people will contact me direct.
Sure.
Right. Of course, please do.
Whatever you prefer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good luck with the rest of the conference, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Tony.
I'm here if you've got some questions. I'll hang around anyway.
Tony, we don't have any questions as of now.
No
we'll
problem.
be happy to share it with you via email, or if you're around, then probably at the end of the session.
Okay, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Right. Moving
on. Our next presenter for the day is Mr. Arnav Ray, CEO of B-Plan, Array Ventures Private Limited, based from Calcutta, India. Arnav is an MBA from SP Jain's Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai, and an undergraduate in electronics and communications engineering. Before starting on his entrepreneurial journey, Arnav worked with some of the best names in the industry, including American Express, Wachovia, Tata Consultancy Services, Infosys, and ICICI. Arnav serves as a mentor with the Government of India's Startup India program, Founders Institute, Wadhwani Foundation, and several educational institutes. He discusses regularly about startups ecosystem through his blog, which has more than 8,000 subscribers, YouTube channel, which has more than 7,200 subscribers, and various other renowned media outlets. Apart from work, he's a music enthusiast, avid traveler, foodie, and out crazy about startups. A big round of applause for Arnav. Hi, Arnav. If I may request you to kindly take the stage, please.
Hi guys, am I audible?
Yeah, very much. Please.
Thanks a lot for the kind introduction, really. Unfortunately, I do not have a presentation ready because I did not know the format of this presentation, but let me just go extempore on this.
Please.
Now, there's no set format, Arnav.
Yeah, I mean, choose what you may, choose
right.
What convenience.
Perfect. So I would rather have questions. That's my forte of answering them. But sure. So both Mr. Mittal and Tony had given a very good insight onto where our startups perception for India stands. Now I'm going to talk about something much simpler. I'm sure most of you are aspiring startups or new entrepreneurs looking at the global landscape. Now, being global for India has never been a new thing. We always had businesses which had gone global. If you're looking at the IT boom, it was purely based on global businesses. Now, having said that, what makes a startup global? Now, if we are talking about unicorns and the big guys, absolutely. After your local market, a national market is kind of already saturated. We have already captured a certain amount of market share.
Sure.
You can either penetrate inside, like probably from an urban to a semi-urban to a rural market, but at the same time you can take your ventures outside. Now we have talked about, we have heard about Freshworks, we have heard about Ola, you have heard about Zomato, but these are big names. Now, what is also happening is Indian entrepreneurs are finally understanding what it is to what the market of India is. Like the global diaspora, whether it's political or if it's economic, is looking at India as a very large market, because India yesterday was probably had a middle class, but did not have the disposable income to buy a lot of things.
Right.
So consumer demand in India has become very high, if you look at it. So now startups have the audacity to think about making a product which can be sold in India, and that was great. So if you look at Flipkarts, let's make an e-commerce to cater to India. The similar concept Rocket Internet would have taken to as a Daraz to Bangladesh and Pakistan, but India had its homegrown thing. Ola was an Indian homegrown thing, but we are also looking at extreme high-level innovation. One of my favorite startups is Zoho. Let's be honest, it is not mentioned in a lot of these forums because probably it is not funded. But this is a unique case study. Zoho is giving the global players that run for their money for their services. It has become one of the best startups in the tech field.
Right.
Freshworks, for example, is a funded startup in a similar field.
Sure.
But if you're looking at the innovation, let's take fintech, for example. What fintech has seen in India, the banking development in India, like the ease of which Indians do banking is not really present, is in some of the most developed of the countries as well, and that's what pure innovation is. Now coming to the founders, okay, we are talking about industries, we are talking about this big companies. So as a small company, when you're a startup, how can you reach the global audience? Now, first of all, let's be thankful for the fact that India has always been, whether it's politically, economically, has been always poised as a country where, which can be trusted with work. And that's what has been given by our predecessors of our entrepreneurs. Outsourcing to India could be, because of cost arbitration, or because of the quality of the people, or simply because they can get the work done and that can be done. We had some issues with compliances and everything, but then again, overall option is India is a good place to get the work done. But till now, we have been competing with cost arbitrage, which means if you outsource to India, you're going to get it cheaper. Now, that's definitely one of the cases you can work with. But on a long-term sustainability, cost arbitrage might not be the best sustainable way to have your business. Like what has happened to the BPO industry, if you can see, because we just competed on cost, it suddenly moved out of here to Philippines and Ireland and stuff like that. So we've always talked about the value chain going to the next level. So the thing that I'm talking about is very simple. When startups are aiming at a when you suppose, let's see, we want to start a digital marketing venture. Very simple. A lot of companies do that. Or let me talk about one of our ventures. Let me just share my screen about couple of ventures that I want to talk about in ours. So I'll come back to these slides later. So this is a company we have called Presentation GFX, where we work with. Is a design company. It's a corporate design company, and India has not been known for design company as such. We have been always influenced by the West for design, and they have been, in terms of corporate design, the finesse of design, creative design is concerned. India has a different ethos of design altogether. If you see Indian corporate design and Western corporate design, they're different. Now, in a global world, when we started this company, we started catering to a lot of companies outside because of cost arbitrage. And then I realized that, if you have to go ahead and keep on doing that, there'll be a problem. And the point is, somebody will always going to be cheaper than you. And you're gonna lose your market share overnight. Then we realize that we have to develop capabilities which can be, if not better, at par with the world, and that's what we focused on. So today you can see that we cater to more than 84 countries in terms of our services are concerned. If you look at it, we got some of the Fortune 50 companies on our list. May it be Microsoft, may it be Samsung, may it be Pfizer, DHL. So we have created global presence in a very small way. Are we a big brand? Absolutely not. But in our space, we are the best players out here. Now, as a small company, when you're looking at outside, you have to understand the branding that you're going to do for yourself, the perception that you're going to do for yourself. You have to stand out as an internationally poised company. Your services and quality should be at par with the international standards. You have to, like small things, like you have to cater to their office times when it comes to catering to their queries. That doesn't mean that you have to work in night shifts. You can be very vocal about the fact that we work from what time to whatever, 10 to 9 or whatever it is, but at the same time keep your communications channel open. uh, Another thing is very important while interacting with Western world is the transparency that you have to keep on, so that once you start working with a company which is a global company, you can grow your business rapidly inside that company, because as the trust goes, your business will also grow. But at the same time, these are very specific initiatives that you can take for a particular industry. Now I'm going to give you another example of probably another venture. So when we started as a consulting firm, we we focused saw that the business planning, like entrepreneurship is coming the field. We have been in this field for 14 years now. So we have seen the growth of entrepreneurs not just in India but across the world. Really, like the words like unicorns and Series A, Series B were like just coming into the thing. Unicorns was a very alien concept at that point of time. And like, what could imagine a startup could be valued at $1 billion at that point of time, after 14 years back. So initially we were catering to again to Western countries because the price was cheaper. Very similar arbitrage. But then soon what we realized is the quality that you can give out is, if you can match it. There's no shortage of talent in India. Let's be honest about it. Yes, there might be a certain communication issues. What certain countries would be, like if it's a language issue, if it's a communication style issue, those are some things which has to be worked on. And I think we as a country can be very, very well molded to these things because of our past. So we have helped about more than 1,800 startups. Initially, we used to help startups in foreign countries. Now, right now, about 80 to 90% of our business used to come from abroad. Now the split is very much like 60% of the startups that we consult is in India and 40% from outside. Now, I'm not saying that both of the markets for us has grown, but the Indian market has grown so hard and so fast that it's a proud moment for all of us. Now, if you look at what I want to tell you, all of you guys, is like you can start having a focus in the local market because that's easy to get, but that does not necessarily mean that that's the only strategy you should have. If you're doing a strategy that you want to cater to the global market as well, I think you should have the audacity to do that, because most of our ventures, our first clients were from abroad, and we were very lucky to get it. So I'll give you an example. For presentation GFX, I was in Bombay office, and I just came back home, and I just could put down my laptop bag, and I was just about to like enter my room, and I just got a call, and I spoke to the person about what are the requirements and everything. So they were like looking for presentations. So right after the call, I confirmed the company's name and everything, and they had called us from Google. And guess what? They were calling from Google US. So Google doesn't have a shortage of designers, by the way, right? But specifically, if we have created a capability of presentation design, which is not one of the best in the world, then you can get some of the best companies approaching us as well. So global company can be having an office outside and having a large market, or having an office in India and catering to it. Especially after COVID, I'll tell you, if your services can be delivered digitally, for example, or through logistics, like through an online transaction, a company in New York would ideally want a company in the New York or New Jersey state to come in, because they can have physical meetings, because that was they're comfortable with. But if the quality is substantially not great, or their service is not that substantially great than what yours is, whether the person is from New Jersey for a New York client, or is it from Calcutta or Bombay, it doesn't really matter, because as long as you can cater to them. So COVID has opened up a huge avenues for each and every business in our, what do you call it, field. Now, Whether you want to focus on a market or whether you go outside the market depends on the kind of businesses you are in. Obviously, we can talk more into details. Obviously, if you're a tangible business where you're looking at a particular area, if you're a restaurant, obviously you're going to look at the local space before going international. International cultures, international policies, a lot of these things will come to place. But what I perceive that for the next few years, India has right now has been perceived as a stable economic country with a lot of talent, and obviously there's a lot of trust on the companies out here which has been established. But the couple of challenges that I see, which is going to be a huge aspect for Indian companies to go global, is that first the culture has to change. That like we should have the audacity of innovate something. There are innovations happening absolutely, but the only way these innovations are coming into limelight is by acquisition by a foreign player. So we're not really going ahead and taking it head on. I'm talking about startup angle. I'm not talking about large companies angle. They are doing it absolutely. But can we take it in a head on a level? Can we look at any industry and create a company which create a product or a service which is best in the world, irrespective of where it's coming from? The second thing I'm done. There's a mindset kind of a thing, because obviously, let's be honest about it. Like we are still on the colloquial hangover, so we have to get over it and go to the next level. The second thing that I think the issue that is coming for us in terms of especially innovative product companies is, I've been looking at the market for quite some time. If you look at it, the initial rounds of investments by the institutional or angel investors has been towards your companies, which are pretty much a copycat product, what I call it, from a Western market, something which is worked out there, right? Because it's an easy acquisition, or it can be easily pinpointed because something has worked somewhere. So let's put it in here. Next round of businesses were coming in where we got our own kinds of services. Like I'm okay, copycat product. I'm talking about e-commerce like Flipkart, or like like you had Bazi.com long time back, and you have different kinds of online portals and stuff like that, right? Now, coming to the second part of it is where we are starting to look at having our own homegrown products, like which works for us, like which is specifically for us. It's not for the Western world, like there are a lot of startups in there. But only copying what other countries are doing will not help us expand to the other countries. It can help expand to other countries where we can compete with, probably like Southeast Asian countries or African countries or Middle Eastern countries or Southern European countries. We can go where it is not there, but that is not going to help us to become a global giant. The second thing, now I think the VC and the investor community should also be in a position to take a lot of risk of investing in hardware-based products, IoT-based products, where it can be going to a global landscape. I'm not saying it's not happening; it's happening gradually. I think Indian startup diaspora and investment diaspora, both of them are quite nascent. It's just been about, let's see, not more than a couple of decades, really, less than that. So we are learning. So we are going through that curve, and I have a huge hope that any startup that is coming up in the future will have a huge scope to go and expand globally. But one word of advice to all the entrepreneurs: so it has to be focused. You cannot be fighting your battles from all corners. If you have limited resources, you should put all your resources into one corner, win that battle, and go to the next one. A little bit about our company. We are a holding company called Ari Innovative Services, where we have these ventures. Apart from that, I also invest in other ventures as an angel. We also mentor a lot of startups. So if you guys are interested to get mentored or get a business plan done or get any kind of help, we can talk about that. I will talk about Business Plan Experts, which is one of the leading business planning startup consulting houses globally. Again, as case study, which is a pure play consulting, which is an Indian company trying to compete with the world. The way we do it is also given the fact that we are also collaborated to the global landscape in terms of a lot of North American companies who are business plan gets their business plan done through us. Obviously, I cannot tell the names, but that's how the market is. So we can not really cater as a brand, but also as a white label partner. The next one is presentation GFX. Like we started with just doing presentation, but today we cater to a wide array of digital graphics and collaterals, marketing, and as well as branding. We have a portal called Crazy about Startups. This is again a global portal. We got about more than, these are old data, but then again, more than about 8,000 registered members globally, global entrepreneurs. We got more than about six or 7,000 registered startups. A lot of contribution that happens. Extremely popular among the community of startups. We always wanted to put it in a global landscape rather than a purely Indian landscape. I think we want to spread the news of Indian startups to the global world and also get the flavor of global startups into the Indian world. So kind of trying to do that rather than constricted to India. We also have a very innovative product called Visume, where we got showcased in Lisbon Web Summit and Hong Kong Rise. Where pure thing is, you can't really judge a person through a A4 size CV. So we wanted to create a very interactive online platform where you can showcase your personality, your work, your portfolio, a lot more than just what CV can do. It's still in progress. We have done the one of the part. We got some recognition, but obviously we're working on it. Another software that we have launched out here for Alumni Connect and Closed Group Networks. And this is our latest product that has come in. So for the first time, we have created a technology platform for presentations, which can work on all devices without any downloads of software, without any plugins. and it is purely self-adjusting in the design, purely intelligently adjusts with devices and everything. You can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on your tablet, you can watch it even on your smart TV. Fully loaded animation. So we are working with some of the global clients for this. A lot of things gonna come into the space. So that's about it, really. I would love to, since I didn't have a lot of presentations, so my entire thing might be a rant or a very unstructured thing. But I would love to take any questions if you guys have any.
Hi Arnab, that was really insightful. Really appreciate you being a part of it. We were just checking for questions. However, there aren't any for the moment. So Nakul, how did you find the present? How did you find the overall thought process? How the what Arnab, the way he went about presenting his thoughts.
No, I think it was definitely very enriching and enlightening, and also the innovative products that Arnav
You
kind of
mentioned about.
shared. Really top of the line products. So I think a lot of people would like to kind of reach out to Arnav later and probably explore the different projects he's involved in and the different innovative products that are coming up. Uh, I think
Yeah.
we will open that channel and we'll probably ask Arnav what's probably his how he would like to probably communicate with any attendees who would like to kind of reach out to him later with questions.
Yeah.
His email ID or probably LinkedIn
LinkedIn
profile.
link.
On the chat, I'm going to mention my handle URL. So I'm
Please
a
do.
great believer of branding and standardization. So whatever popular social network that you want to go for, this is my ID. This
Right.
is the
Sure.
same thing for my Gmail as well.
Right.
So whichever format you can, I definitely try to get whenever I get time. I'll definitely get in touch and reply to them. I love working with startups.
Sure.
The,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
the only thing that I can conclude, since you don't have any questions, so is like, I think it's about time that we Indian startups entrepreneurs have the audacity to now create
Right.
products which can be best in the world and can compete in the world's landscape.
Right.
So all the best.
Of course, Arnab, that was a much help. Many thanks for sharing your contact coordinates. I'm sure a lot of people will reach out to you. Yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks for being a part of the event. Really appreciate. Guys, at this point in time, we'll take a break. I believe.
Just a second. I think I have a couple of questions coming, Arnab, if you'd be okay to kind of address them. There are a couple of questions from startup founders who would like to ask in terms of traction. A lot of startups, in fact, we being in the consulting arena, also come across a lot of startups who are in the very early ideation stage, and they start reaching out to seed investors, angels at that stage, face
Right.
a lot of disappointment in terms of not getting the investment or the due attention. Any suggestions you'd like to make to those such entrepreneurs who are at the very early ideation stage, who are who are working on their product, but they don't have an MVP ready right now in terms of developing an MVP, in terms of developing traction, in terms of either user traction. The best way of traction we all know is monetary traction, but that's a catch-22 situation. They don't have the right funds to develop the MVP and do the marketing and the outreach. But
in terms of idea, in terms of
Yes.
management, it's a great fit. It's a well-rounded profile. The idea has, if there are people who are willing to put in money at an early stage, it has the potential to scale up. So how do you suggest such founders to take their journey forward?
And in
Yeah.
general, your suggestion to early stage startups who don't have an MVP ready right now, but do have potential, your suggestions there.
Right. So first of all, I'll answer the first question: is funding the only route for startup? Probably not.
Right.
The reason I'm telling you, not all ventures are fundable.
Correct.
Sure.
Like for example, our before this individual investors or institutional investors, angel investing was in the market. If you look at it, a company can only get funded from a debt, from a primary to a debt. If you're not going for a private lenders, let's not
Right.
talk about this. That's an unorganized sector.
Unorganized sector, correct.
Right.
And if you look at these debt from a bank, you cannot get a debt from a bank until unless you had tangible collaterals
Of
Yeah.
to
course.
give out or guarantee.
Right.
So if you're a services company, forget about getting a debt, by the way, until unless you have a cash flow.
Right.
Right.
So similarly, according to a bank, those businesses not fundable. Similarly, from a VC perspective, angel perspective, not all businesses are fundable, because let's be honest, when I'm looking at a startup, when I am hands-on in a startup, I'm passionate about changing the world. Great thing. But I also wear the hat of an investor. At that point of time, I'm not trying to change the world. That is my secondary objective. My first objective is to get my money back.
Right.
So until unless there is a business which has checks all the criteria for an investor in terms of ROI is concerned, fundability will not be the question. That doesn't mean that every venture is not fundable. So we have about 10 ventures. A lot of portfolio of a lot of the innovation is going on. We never took funding. We always wanted was, okay, you can have one business who can give you the cash flow so that you can utilize that cash flow to fund the second business, the third business, a very accrual way of doing it. Now, there's so many other ways of doing it, by the way. I'm not saying that should be the way. But the culture should not be that we should be waiting for fundings to come in. Like even if you look at the biggest of the companies today in the Fortune 50 companies, barely a very small percentile of them actually got funding in the initial stage. Even Google didn't get funding in the initial stage.
Right.
So the culture that what has happened in the funding is celebrated today, right? Which is great. I don't have a problem with that. But there is a reason behind it. Funding would be celebrated because the moment a funding institution would put some money into a startup, they would want the hype to start immediately.
Right. Of course.
Because they can get a higher returns in the next time. It is the investment game. So we shouldn't be blurred by the fact that funding ke alawa, and without funding you cannot have a startup. Let's be honest, it can happen. Zoho is a great example. Second is whether you have an MVP, there are several incubators, there are several grants from government, there are several opportunities, like you can look around, you can actually work with one of the startup mentors, they can definitely help you out. And talk to the startup mentors whether they're comfortable with that industry or not. Right. But there are also venture builders, right? There are companies who want to partner with you. Like we partner, if we see a great idea, we won't charge them our consulting fee. We would partner with them and probably give them services up to 25 lakhs.
Okay.
But we'll take an equity. So if you should be able to give out equity as well, right?
Yeah. So of course, that's always changed.
Right. And the last part that you're talking about is whether the MVP, getting the traction part of it is very simple. If you look at a lot of these unicorn-based startups, if they were not funded, they would have not got this traction, right? So if your business model is purely based on the fact that you have to quickly get a traction and it is not natural, it's not viral, then you need to get funding, nothing doing about it. But try and figure out a product which can be automatically taken up.
Right.
So virality and tractions are not the buzzwords, but they are not under your control.
Right.
What is under your control is your cost, runway, burn rate, and profitability.
Yes, those are the major variables. Yes,
Right.
Agreed.
So I think let's focus on the basics and not going to be swayed by this new buzzwords that keeps on coming in.
Yeah.
Correct.
Sure. Arnab, that was of much help. That actually answers the question. What we were looking for primarily, that gives a very, very holistic picture of where one should be headed in terms of, driving up, scaling up their proposition.
And I think it was very important for entrepreneurs to understand that there are many other avenues, kind of to build your product, your startup, and not just through venture funding. There are many ways you can kind of build the product that you're passionate about. Work on your product, work on getting traction, get the right product market fit. Otherwise, there are a lot of programs like Arnab mentioned that you can reach out to, and if there's potential, you would definitely find suitable partners. And like Arnab, you mentioned that you also partner with promising startups, and you kind of offered your services in exchange of equity. In fact, we also do that some of the times
Right.
where we see potential startups coming up. They don't have the requisite funds, but bright young kids developing very innovative solutions. So we also offer our management consulting solutions, other services in exchange of equity. So that's another route that's available to startups. But if you would, if you would just probably kind of want to explain a little further in terms of how you have helped your probably some of the startup clients, or you've partnered with some of the startups in terms of developing the business plan, maybe investor documents, pitches, etc. So if you could just probably kind of would like to highlight some of the experiences that you've had with a few startups.
Right. So, in terms of consulting, we have helped like right from a food truck, probably, which is a very micro business, to probably a space station in Mexico, which is a very large business,
Right.
alternative fuel. So we have touched upon all of them. So we have been in this industry for 14 years, different countries. Amazing, what do you call it, experience. So, uh,
Sure.
so a lot of industries we have touched. But when it
Right.
comes to helping these young entrepreneurs when they come out, is what I look at them is very simple. Is I look at the team dynamics and what they're looking for. Is there a spark of brilliance or not?
Right.
See, I want to get associated with people who are smarter than me. Everybody wants to do that, right? But at a startup, you cannot probably always have the opportunity to do that, right? Because smart
Right.
people would cost a lot of money, and you probably, if you're not have the resources, you'll not be able to do that. The only way you can do that, but the smartest people today are not going to be your team members, by the way, or going to be employees. The smartest people are the people who will, right from a very young age, are trying to do something on their own. So getting associated at that moment is something I love doing. I look at it very simply: is it an innovative tech that is really going to change the landscape, and again can be played on a global scale or not? Second thing I'm looking at, is it going to change a grassroots level difference for us in terms of our country? Like not just us in a larger scale, but let's focus on the country in terms of. So, and third that I'm looking at is making a quick buck, as simple as that. Like every investor would do that, and I'm going to be very frank about it. If I see an opportunity which can be easily, I can see I get a business idea or a business here. I can create the help them create the MVP. I can do a little bit of marketing, get the initial traction, package it in a nice investor tech business plan, pitch to an investor, get the initial round, and then to the Series A funding I exit. I kind of get NX returns, right? For my
Correct. 4x, 5x is generally the trend. Either ways we look at it.
that for me that would be making a quick buck. By the way, those I'm not looking at. I've been in industry. I understand how VCs work and what they're looking for. So that is a different thing. How we can do is usually is when a company comes in, what we do is we look at what are the things that can be done,
Right.
right from getting their first sales, which is establishing their sales process altogether, sharing our sales infrastructure and resources with them, um, creating their marketing and marketing perception, branding, and everything from an international scale, getting the business plans done, prototypes and technology help, digital marketing, and mentoring, and obviously routing them to the right people. So we have affiliates for IP lawyers, we have affiliates for HR practices, we have affiliates for uh, accounting and compliance, treasury.
Right.
So we direct into these people. So we have a community of people who wants to work with a startup, and they get what they get benefited at the end of the day is they can get all of these at the same place, and they
Right.
have to take it to the next level. Obviously, these has to be very risky kind of a thing, because you have the entrepreneurs, the startup team is getting it for free, right?
Absolutely.
So there is no skin in the game. So
Yeah.
we have to be we have to be in a phased manner. So we have helped quite a bit of startups in these areas. But then again, that is not our forego. In a sense, we are a profit business.
Sure. Of course.
So if we do probably 25 startups consulting or business planning in a month, one we will select as which we can help them, not
Right.
all of that, because we are not an incubator. We are not into that of helping startups in that way. But yeah, if it's something we see that, like, it's kind of looking, you can look at as a what do you call it, scholarship, business plan scholarship for entrepreneurs. And because we have all the field like technology, marketing, and consulting under the same roof, and with our affiliates, kind of we cater to most of their needs.
Right.
Absolutely, sir.
That helps. That was much help, Arnav. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thanks.
much being a part of it. Really appreciate. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of session one, guys. I believe
Right.
we have any other speaker lined up, Nakul, or we take forward in the second session right now.
Right. Thank you so much, Arnab. I think we've shared your social media handle with the audience. I think many of us would like to reach out to you and discuss further. Also, we have another gentleman, Mr. Anil Kapuria from Silicon Valley. We'll be just handing over the mic to him. He has a important message to share, and few thoughts to share. So I'm just handing over the mic to Mr. Anil Kapuria now.
Your time. And let me tell you, I find this session very interesting. I was one of the very first ones to come from Silicon Valley to set up things in India when India was not even known. Infosys and others were just a small little booth in Silicon Valley. That's all it was. Anyway, here it is. I find that India's real advantage is expressed very aptly by Professor C.K. Prahlad. I would suggest almost everyone to read his book. He passed away a long time ago, and he was one of the recognized authorities in comparative strategies. You should read it. If anyone wants to know what books to read, Professor C.K. Prahlad, his books are taught in business schools in America now. Anyway,
Sure, sir.
here is what I see, that India's real advantage now today that no one, at least I've heard so far talking about. I heard Arnav talking about coming from Fortune 500 or whatever down. No, India's advantage is at the bottom of its pyramid. It is taking, that's what C.K. Prahlad talked about. It's $1 trillion economy
Right.
worldwide. No one talks about it. And everyone say, hey, top down, forget about top down. Everybody is climbing top to bottom. Try to climb up bottom to up. I'll give you example. Who has done it? Arvind did it. Arvind is a cataract eye operation. I've seen their people who went from Mexico. Arnav should know if he has not. They set up a cataract operation setup in Mexico City. It is one of the best operations in Mexico for eye operations. Okay, I can give you other example. Professor Christensen, he passed away, of my alma mater, Harvard Business School. He talked about at Godrej, they invented a $35 refrigeration. That is what is needed at the base. It can cool down to 4 degrees Celsius. That is all is needed to keep the vegetables and everything safe and good. Commercialize it. These are some of the innovations that are happening in India, need to be brought out of India. No need to go and do space for Mexico. I do not know what Arnab did. Mexicans, I am doing right now a project of my own. I have put my own money and capital and my time in trying to deploy value chain improvements in Mexico and America. I feel that Indian value is here. $1 trillion value. Capture it, man. You guys will do far better. Only and listen to YouTube, Professor Christensen's YouTube. Anyone who cannot get it, message me. I'll send you that YouTube video link. He talks about why innovation can happen in India and China and not happen, and even in Vietnam, but not in Latin America, not in Africa, not in other places. India has a tradition of jugaad. I do not know if you've heard McKinsey's, they teach jugaad as the plan B to their management consultants. Can you believe that? It go on GT road from Delhi to Chandigarh, you will see these, what is that? The washing machines converted into lassi makers. Who has done that? And how it is accepted as the innovation. This is what I'm talking about. Innovate, consumerize these technologies. This kind of innovation cannot happen in America, it cannot happen in Europe, it can happen in India. Why? India has a tradition of innovation, entrepreneurship, and a huge captive market of its own. That's all I wanted to talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anil.
Anil, hi. Thank you for so much for reaching out and sharing your broader views. Nakul, what's your view on what Anil sir said?
No, I just, like I said, thank you so much for kind of highlighting the India advantages, and we truly respect your views. And I think everybody understands the unlocked innovation potential that India has. Thanks for highlighting that, and thank you so much for all the other speakers, especially Arnab. And probably now we will take a
Yeah.
short break, and we will probably.
We begin again at 12:15. So we'll also post a message once we are about to begin 5 minutes before starting off. So yeah, I mean, guys, stay tuned in. We'll be back in another 45 odd minutes. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. Thank you for staying logged in. We look forward to seeing you again, and many more wonderful presentations to go. People sharing their thoughts and what's their view on the larger scheme of things. So we are also looking forward to interacting with them and trying to figure out what India holds in the larger scheme of things as far as the startup ecosystem is concerned. So yeah, I mean, looking forward to connecting with you guys, not just on this event but also beyond. Thank you. Cheers. We circle back at 12:15, please.